ever notice how much conflicting information there is on the internet? Some people say that eating dark chocolate provides you with essential vitamins and minerals, while others say that it does nothing except lead to obesity. So, what's true? Sometimes it can be difficult to tell. It's the same with the IELTS exam. Google any question about IELTS and you will get conflicting responses. So in this video, we've got time to look at 5 different myths about the IELTS exam and to decide once and for all which are fact and which are fiction. So I want you to pause the video, look at the 5 statements and decide fact or fiction. Statement number 1, you will receive less marks in writing task 2 if the examiner doesn't agree with your opinion. Fact or fiction? Fiction! Of course this is not true. There cannot be a right or wrong opinion because the IELTS exam is testing your English language ability, not your beliefs. However, whatever your opinion is very important that you give your opinion, extend your opinion, and support your opinion. And if you do this, any opinion is good. Myth number 2, it's a good idea to learn whole sentences that you can put into any academic essay. Sentences like, I'm going to consider both the advantages and the disadvantages and then give a carefully considered opinion. This is a good idea. Fact or fiction? Well, no, wait, let me put this question another way. Is the examiner stupid? Fact or fiction? Fact! What? Sorry, fiction! Thank you. Do you really think that an IELTS examiner like me with 15 years teaching experience really reads a sentence like this and thinks, here is a student with a high level of English? Of course we don't. IELTS examiners are trained to find sentences that students have memorized. And trust me, it's very obvious because usually these sentences appear inside essays of a student with a very low level. So you have sentences with lots of mistakes and then suddenly this sentence. If you are a lower level student, this is not helping you achieve a higher score. And even worse, if you are a high-level student, if you really are an advanced student, this is damaging your score. For me, this is lazy. What does that mean though? Does that mean we should never memorize any language? No. It means we should memorize useful grammar structures which we can use inside any essay. Sentences like cleft sentences. Cleft sentences are wonderful sentences that can be used in almost any type of essay. So if you learn the structure, the main reason why I believe is you can adapt this to your particular essay. So for example, if you've got an essay about sportsmen and pay, you could say, the main reason why I believe that sportsmen should be paid a high salary is their short careers. This is using your memory of a grammar structure but adapting it for a specific essay topic. This sentence will achieve you a high score, but the annoying advantages and disadvantages and consider them will get you nothing. Myth number 3. You should use idioms in your essay to achieve a high score. Fact or fiction? Fact! This one is fact. Idioms will help you achieve a higher score for lexical resource. For example, if you wrote a sentence like this in your exam, it is often easier for individuals to turn a blind eye to environmental problems because they feel that climate change is the responsibility of governments. The idiom to turn a blind eye or to ignore something. This will achieve you a high score for lexical resource. However, I need to speak very frankly about this because although it's true that idioms help, it is not true that idioms are magic. On their own, they do not have the power to give you a 7. It's the IELTS exam, not Harry Potter. Even worse, for some reason, students seem to only learn the same 1 or 2 idioms and think that by putting them into their essay, it's enough. Idioms like burning issue. I cannot tell you how many essays I have read in the introduction, burning issue. Not only is this expression used too much, it's often used in completely the wrong way. Let me show you an example. Imagine you had this question in your exam. Libraries should focus more on developing their technological resources than their paper resources. To what extent do you agree or disagree? I guarantee if this was a question in the exam, I would have 50% of students write this discussion. Whether or not libraries should spend money on computers or books is a burning issue today. Is it? What does a burning issue mean? A burning issue means an urgent or critical issue that everybody is talking about. Do you think there is anybody right now in England talking about this issue? I don't think there is anybody today, this week, or this year talking about this issue. This is not a critical or urgent issue, and therefore it is definitely not a burning issue. It drives me crazy when students do this. Another common expression that's overused like this is the coin has 2 sides. This is mostly done by Chinese students, and the worst thing about this idiom is it's not an English idiom. People in England don't use it. And when I read it in essay after essay after essay, it stops giving people more points and starts taking points away. So, take your burning issue, your coin has both sides, and shove them up your... Number 4, the more words you write, the higher your score will be. Fact or fiction? Fiction! Absolutely fiction. What does the exam task say? It says you should write at least 250 words. There is no upper limit, but more is not always better. That's because if you write more than 250 words, if you write 400 or 450 or 500 words, it's very likely that not all of your sentences are relevant. And if they're not relevant, you will lose marks for task response. Myth number 5, you can't use I in an essay. Fact or fiction? Fiction! Fiction. Although actually this myth I do understand, because if you are writing an essay for a university or for a school, we use the passive voice to avoid using I. We don't say I interviewed 10 people, we say 10 people were interviewed. However, we are writing an IELTS essay, and very often in the IELTS exam, they ask for your opinion. Discuss both sides and give your opinion. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Are there more advantages than disadvantages? In all of these questions, you are being asked your opinion. And how can you give your opinion without using I? It's impossible. So when you give your opinion, don't be afraid to use I or my in an IELTS essay. In fact, if you don't do this, you could lose marks. Okay, those were our 5 myths. I'm afraid I've run out of time. I have to go and operate on a woman who read so many conflicting pieces of information on the internet, her brain exploded. So please take care. It's wonderful to find information for yourself, but make sure the information you are finding is correct. I'm Shelly, this is my IELTS classroom, and remember, a practice activity a day keeps the IELTS doctor away. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you found the content useful, please click like to help the channel, and don't forget to subscribe for new lessons every Friday. Plus, you can find more expert content at www.myieltsclassroom.com.